All right. Let's at least talk about what exactly the deal is first before we Batista bomb them. So, Wizard of the Coast changed the open game license recently, or it's planned changes.
Yeah, they haven't changed it yet, but it leaked. So
yeah, it leaked. The plan changes have leaked, and we're getting some changes. I think we can just go ahead and just scroll on down here. Okay. Reportedly, the new license called OGL 1.1. I love, by the way, they call it 1.1. Just call it 2.0. What's with the 1.1? This is totally different.
Yeah, they're trying to make it seem like it's not. It's like, oh, it's just a patch. It's just a minor patch. Like it's
totally different.
It's a bug fix, guys. It's 1.1.
This is OGL -1. Just call it -1.
This is OGL -1.
Makes numerous revisions to the D&D policy, including adding a requirement that creators register any products they're selling with Wizards of the Coast. Previously, you obviously did not have to do that. You could create Dungeons & Dragons related content, and you were welcome to monetize it under the well, we'll call it current license. New agreement also introduces a new 20 to 25% royalty to be paid to Wizards by license users, making an excess of $750,000 in a year, while giving Wizards a non-exclusive, perpetual, irrevocable, worldwide, sub-licensable, royalty-free, blowjob-inducing license. Like, how many words do you want to add there, Wizards? Do you want to add some more words? Like, fuck. To use content created using OGL for any purpose. Can I hard stop here for a second?
Yeah.
I'd love to know the data on how many people are making $750,000 a year on Wizards content. I mean, Critical Role would be one, I guess, if you could think of somebody who would be doing that. I don't know who else. If you are making that much money in a year doing Wizards of the Coast Dungeons & Dragons content, good job. Like, I just want to give you a good job. That's amazing to be making that much money on this. I don't know how many people that is. I imagine it's a really tiny percentage. Though.
It's probably not a lot, but yeah. To Blue's comment in the chat, that's not quite right. But I was gonna say, who does this remind you of? Where have we seen this before?
Activision.
And it's Blizzard.
It's Blizzard.
When Warcraft 3 Reforged came out, Reforged was a dumpster fire.
Oh yeah, I think. That was ass.
With their with their map making tool, which is in the original Warcraft 3 where Dota came from. Blizzard is salty that they don't have the license to Dota because it was originally created in Warcraft 3.
Yep.
So with Warcraft 3 Reforged, they had a similar agreement, not the royalties thing, but they have the license to do whatever they want with anything that is made in their map maker, and they don't have to credit or pay or do anything to the original creator, basically.
Right, which is really that part of it. I don't think that's necessarily tied to the $750,000 in a year. I think it's just everybody now gives Wizards this update to the license, where it's like, if you make, I guess, public D&D, is it where you make public D&D combat? It's just content.
Yeah,
it's just ours to use. I don't think the $750K is tied to that. If it is, I mean, that's still bad. I'm not saying it isn't.
No, they're two. I think they're two separate.
They're two separate things. Yeah, which is the other. I think people are more upset at that part, frankly, than the royalties part, because the royalties part affects, again,
not that many people.
Really tiny percentage.
And to be honest, to me, like, it's a company. They're out there to make money. Obviously, we don't like it, but like them taking royalties on their IP is, I mean, it's not great, but it's also not completely unreasonable. I mean, it's kind of a lot.
20 to 25%.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
That is a lot for having no.
If it was like 5 to 10, then maybe.
I think 5%
reasonable.
Is reasonable for somebody making like $750,000 a year. Like 5% of that is still like quite a bit. But it's it's not Monopoly money. So Wizards like, that's not Monopoly money.
Yeah. And there's another part of this apparently that I forgot about that I was just talking with Ghost about before we started. That like, apparently this policy supposedly is supposed to retroactively affect everything.
Correct. It's retroactive.
In the past that is which, again, legally, I don't think they have much standing there, to be honest. Like, you can't create like a law or a rule or something that like affects things that were done in the past, especially when like, this wasn't in place. Like,
I agree.
I think if they got taken to court on that, they would lose very handily. Like,
yeah, that's not that you can't do. You just can't do that. That's not going to work. And like, it makes no sense, or just from any perspective, because you're like, well, when I originally started working with Dungeons and Dragons, I was making $1 million a year from it, whatever. And I'm not Wizards. I agreed to your original license. So your new license is like a new agreement. And therefore, when the new agreement starts, that's when I agree to it. Not the previous. I didn't agree.
Yeah.
I didn't agree to it before. I agreed to something else. Just to finish this paragraph, the new agreement would force all creators to adopt OGL 1.1, despite the current version's explicit language that a move like that could never be forced upon creators. How do you like... You broke your own agreement? They literally just broke their own agreement? That's... I mean, like, that's not like it's unheard of. But, wow. Okay, here's what Wizards of the Coast said. This is a statement on their forums. The OGL is not going away. You will still be able to create new D&D content, publish it anywhere, and game with your friends and followers in all the ways that make this game and community so great. The thousands of creators publishing across Kickstarter, DMs, Guild, and more are a critical part of the D&D experience, and we will continue to support and encourage them to do that through one D&D through one D&D and beyond. Okay, I just got a little bit confused on that wording there.
One D&D is the new
it's
edition.
Yeah. Yeah, I can translate that paragraph. That paragraph was actually quite a few. There was probably a few lies in there.
It's gobbledygook.
It's. I'll translate that.
What AI bot wrote that? Like...
They just threw that into like Chat GPT or some crap. Like, make a nice statement. Yeah, I can translate this for you. The OGL is not going away. That is technically true, but like we know it's not going away. You're just completely changing it. Let's also update a few of their wordings here. Let's see. Thousands of creators are a critical part of the D&D experience, and we hate you for it. We hate that you're a critical part of the experience, and we're not getting any piece of the pie for it. We'll continue to support you as long as you give us all your cash. Thank you.
You can still create new D&D content, publish it anywhere, and game with your friends and followers, and game with your friends and followers as long as you give us your money. As long as you give us your money and let us use whatever we like whenever we like it without paying you.
Right.
Okay. Or crediting you.
Because we need somebody to make free content for us. Thank you very much.
We would like to make money without doing anything. Thank you. Like...
So, I mean, this is I don't know. I think universally, can I say universally, this was just hated? This whole change was just despised and hated. Was there anybody that was like, wow, this is a great change?
Unless you work at Wizards of the Coast. Well, okay, maybe not if you work at Wizards of the Coast, but if you are in the upper echelons of Wizards of the Coast, or you are a Wizards of the Coast stockholder, you probably hate this.
Yeah, I was just like, I think everybody hates this. This isn't even like something where it's like maybe somewhat controversial, and or there's like maybe two sides to this. There's literally just one side, and it's just everybody hates this. This is such a bad idea. And again, I had sort of mentioned this before the podcast with you, Spoon, but this is just one of the some people were sharing on Twitter. They're like, yeah, Wizards doesn't like us. They don't appreciate us as customers. Like, yeah, no shit, they don't. I can't speak for every company, I suppose, but I can tell you that if a company could afford to just make money without you, you know they would. They don't want you. You're only a necessity because you happen to give them money. If you weren't, like, they would get rid of you. And it's the same thing with like employees. I talked about this before you started, and before we started. Activision Blizzard consistently profits every year, but they still lay people off. They still have these big layoffs. And the reason why is like, well, like, if we're still making profits and we can afford to cut people, we're going to cut people. Because they want to cut their costs. Like, they're people sharing on Twitter, they're like, oh, they really don't care about this. If you were surprised by that, God, I don't know what to tell you anymore. You can't be surprised at some of this stuff.
I think the issue is like when you see some like, I don't know, when like internal stuff gets leaked, it's just like the level of disdain they have for their customers is actually like really, I don't want to say funny because that's kind of the wrong word, but it's just like, it's like, wow, these people, like the people at the top, it's like they're not human. It's like they just don't even care at all. Like,
yeah, at some point you do stop caring. There's like a certain point where
you have enough money that like you just don't care about people at all anymore.
You stop appreciating things. Also, you just stop appreciating things. You're like, hey, I have, and to be fair, like I don't know how like actually rich some of those Wizards people are. Wizards doesn't necessarily stand out to me as like that big cash cow like a Microsoft, for example. But like at a certain point, when you get to a certain point where you're like, your assets start to balloon into like 7 figures, 8 figures, you just stop caring about things because it's like, well, I can just get whatever I want. So there's no like trade-offs anymore regarding like, oh, well, I need to like do things wisely. So, like, when you do that, you start to disconnect from reality. Like, you can just start disconnecting from things. And, like, that's what happens with these people. They just disconnect. You disconnect, and you start realizing also that, oh, there are no consequences to my actions because I can just kind of, like, I guess, like, the way I would put it is since they have a lot of money, like, spend their way out of it.
Yeah. And nobody ever like, everyone around them is just like a yes man. Nobody tells them no, ever.
Right, because they also want to get there. I mean, like, you also want to, your thought process as well, if I like just go with it, then eventually like they'll appreciate me enough where I can get there and start reaping the rewards of that. But yeah, I mean, I have no shock whatsoever that a company like Wizards is just like, yeah, we don't like our customers, but we have to put up with them. I think there are some companies that do just a better job of hiding that, and they're like, no, we love you guys, and like they try and be a bit more friendly, customer friendly. But yeah, you think like an Activision gives 2 shits about customers, for example, like Activision? We think Bobby sits down and goes, gosh, I feel so much empathy for these players. I feel empathy for these players today. Maybe I should lower the price of these microtransactions. What's his name from EA or something like that? Same thing. The FIFA people who make FIFA, they're like, oh god, man, these card packs are really bad. I feel so much empathy. No. God, no. They probably just like, they love the people that spend way too much and probably just, and like with the open game license, people were creating all this content and monetizing the shit out of it, and Wizards saw none of it. So I'm sure all those executives are like, hey, we're not seeing any of this. Like, this makes us big mad. We're big mad about this. Why aren't we making anything from this? I was like, well, I mean, this is just what happens when, you know, you get something like this where you have a really friendly license. Like the OGL is a really friendly license in its originality because it allows for a lot of creative possibilities from people, and it incentivizes it. It was just like, yeah, go for it. I mean, like, how great is that to be like, yeah, just go for it, just do whatever you want, and like if you monetize it, it's yours because you made it.
Yeah, again, I think if this thing, the new OGL was just like, hey, we want to take like 5 to 10%. We want 5 to 10% royalty on things. and that was the end of it. There wasn't any of the we own your new like intellectual property, and it's retroactive to everything that's been made in the past. I think people still probably wouldn't like it because again, it's a kind of a negative change for people. But people would have been like, okay, I mean, I guess that's somewhat reasonable. But like this, it was just like heaping pile of crap basically.
All of it was.
Okay.
I mean, all of it was terrible. So, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like the people that are like, I think I should say like dedicating their life and craft to like making D&D content. I feel really bad for them because it's like it's a slap in the face to you to feel like, oh well, we're not seeing enough money from your stuff, so you're gonna have to give us some of your stuff now.
Yeah.
It's
Again,
like, well,
we want your money. We want to make money and not do anything.
Right. And we want to have the possibility of, if your thing is popular, to sell it ourselves.
Yeah.
As an official
Yeah.
D&D module, we'll say.
Yeah.
Like, I just yeah, I mean, well, all my D&D content's in shambles now. For me, like, it doesn't really affect me, but it affects the people that, like, I think, just do this as like a job. They make D&D content as a job. The tough update for you. Real tough.
Yep.
Real frustrating. But what else? I don't know. There's nothing else to say. Like, this is like very much what you should kind of expect, is especially when some balding executive gets real big mad. They're like, hey, I can't buy my 5th house. What's going on? Where's my 5th house? And somebody goes, why don't you just take money from them? They're making content from your stuff, and you're not taking it. And they're like, oh shit, you're right. That'll fund my yacht. There's really nothing else to say.
Yep. Just big companies doing big company things, trying to make more and more money.
Yeah.
Because what they're making isn't enough.
That's a 5th house shop. I can have both now because
both.
I'm taking 20%, so I got both. Yeah, I mean, there are some companies that do a better job of this kind of stuff. But yeah, Wizards is just horrible at everything. There's just something about Wizards, something about them. But anyway, okay.